Okay, so angles in trigonometry. So an angle on a coordinate plane is in standard form when the vertex is on the origin and one ray lies on the positive x-axis. You'll understand what that means in a minute. The ray on the x-axis is called the initial side, and the other ray is called the terminal side. Counterclockwise rotations result in positive angle measures. Clockwise are negative. And then one full rotation or revolution is 360 degrees. Okay? So let's just get into sketching these. So you always start on the right side on the x-axis. So the positive x-axis, that's always where you start drawing these. Okay? So I'm just that's 0 degrees right there. That's where you start 0. Then you go up to the y-axis, that's 90 degrees. Go further, that's 180. Go another 90 degrees, that's 270. Go another 90 degrees, that's 360 degrees. Now it asks us to sketch a 75-degree angle. So that's just a little bit, 15 degrees before 90. So I had to draw that with my mouse, so that's why it's all weird like that. But, so that's about 75 degrees. We're just going to guesstimate. And then you draw that terminal side right there, and you're done. Okay? Now it's asking us to draw negative 160 degrees. So instead of going positive, so instead of going counterclockwise, I'm going to go clockwise. So again, I'm just going to start at 0 degrees, but then I'm going to go clockwise. So I'm going to go down 90 degrees. That's negative 90 right there. Go another, that's negative 180. Go another 90 degrees, negative 270. Go another, that's negative 360. Now, if I need to draw negative 160, that's just a little bit before 180. So it's about right there. Draw that terminal side, and we're done. And make sure you draw that little loop so I can see what path you're taking. Okay? Now, 430 degrees. So again, I'm going to label this 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. But then I'm going to go even further because it's bigger than 360. So 360 plus 90 more is 450. So now we have enough. I'm going to have to make one full rotation and then go back to 20 degrees before that. So it's going to be like just a little loopy there. Okay? Draw that terminal side and we're done. Not too hard, I hope. So now let's get into converting from degrees to radians. So a radian is a unit of angle measure based on an arc length. So 1 radian is defined as the measure of an angle formed when the radius is equivalent to the length of the intercepted arc. Okay, so basically, what that basically means is 360 degrees is equivalent to 2 pi radians. And 180 degrees is equivalent to pi radians. And something you can kind of compare that to, like 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes, which would make half of an hour equivalent to 30 minutes. Or you could compare it to like 1 day is equivalent to 24 hours. Half of a day is equivalent to 12 hours. So that's just the comparison we're making right now. So 360 degrees and 2 pi radians are the same thing. They are equivalent. Okay, and we just have to be able to convert back and forth between them. So if I'm going to convert from degrees to radians, I'm going to multiply by 180, degrees to radians, you multiply by pi over 180. Radians to degrees, it's 180 over pi. Okay, so let's just start this. So degrees to radians, I'm multiplying by pi over 180. I'm just going to put that 30 over 1. So that's 30 over 1 times pi over 180. Multiply straight across. So that's 30 pi over 180. Sorry, struggling. Which 10 goes into both of those. So that becomes 3 pi over 18. And then 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So that reduces to pi over 6. Okay? Now let's look at B. So we're going to have 150 times pi over 180. Just going to put that over 1 multiply straight across. So you get 150 pi over 180. 10 goes into both of those, so that's 15 pi over 18. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So that's 5 pi over 6. Now we have negative 220 degrees times 180. Put that over 1, and then just multiply straight across. So negative 220 pi over 180. 10 goes into both of those, so that's 22 over 18. And then 2 goes into both of those, so that's negative 11 pi over 9. So it's basically, we're just reducing fractions here. That's all we're doing. Okay, now if we're going from radians to degrees, we're going to multiply by 180 over pi. So if you're going from radians to degrees, the pi should always cancel, so you should be multiplying by pi in the denominator. If you're going from degrees to radians, the pi should stay, so you have to keep that pi in the top. Okay, so you multiply by pi over 180. So if we have 4 pi over 3 times 180 over pi, that becomes 4 pi times 180 over 3 times pi, which is 4 times 180 times pi over 3 times pi. Those pi's cancel. They're gone. 3 goes into 180 60 times. 60 times 4 is 240, so that's 240 degrees. Okay, so look at B. So negative 5 pi over 36 times 180 over pi. That's negative 5 pi times 180 over 36 times pi. Those pi's cancel. And I have 5 times 180 over 36. 18. Whoops. So 36 goes into 180 5 times. 36 goes into 36 once. And then 5 times 5 is 25, so that becomes negative 25 degrees. Okay, now 7 pi over 4 times 180 over pi. Multiply that out. The pi's cancel. 4 goes into 180 45 times. 7 times 45 is 315, so that's 315 degrees. Okay. Now we're going to get into coterminal angles. So there's a lot of things we're kind of going through in this video, but they're simple things. So I think we'll be okay. So angles in standard position with the same terminal side are coterminal. So co just means they share a terminal side, basically. So we have to give 2 coterminal angles for each given angle. One needs to be positive, one needs to be negative. So we're going to do one full rotation is 360 degrees. So I'm going to do 65 minus 360 and 65 plus 360. And I always want you to do the subtraction first to make sure that you can get a negative from that. Because if you don't get a negative, then we have to do subtraction one more time to get the positive and the negative. Okay? So 65 minus 360 is negative 295. 65 plus 360 is 425. Now we have 540, so we're going to do 540 minus 360. That is 180. So we're going to subtract 360 again from 180. So we're going to do 180 minus 360 is negative 180. Okay, so that's degrees. Degrees are pretty simple. Radians are simple also. It just is going to require a little bit more math. So one full rotation is 2 pi. Because remember, 2 pi and 360 are equivalent. So I'm going to do 13 pi over 18 minus 2 pi. I can put that over 1. When you subtract fractions, you have to get a common denominator. So I'm just going to multiply top and bottom by 18. So that's 13 pi over 18 minus 36 pi over 18. You subtract that, you get negative 23 pi over 18. All done. So now we're just going to add it, do the same thing. So we have 13 pi over 18 plus 2 pi. Put that over 1. Multiply top and bottom by 18. So that becomes 49 pi over 18. Okay, let's look at D. So I'm going to do 14 pi over 9 minus 2 pi. Put that over 1. Get a common denominator, which is 9. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 9. So that's 18 pi over 9. Then subtract that out, you get negative 4 pi over 9. So I got my negative one, now I just have to get my positive. So negative 14 pi over 9 plus 2 pi, put that over 1, multiply by 9, top and bottom. So that's 14 pi over 9 plus 18 pi over 9, which is 32 pi over 9. We got them both. Okay? We are going to save this for class. Remember to take the quiz. I will see you guys tomorrow.